I'm really sorry because due to unforeseen circumstances, I couldn't be here yesterday. Tomorrow, damn it. So I didn't have much sleep for the past 72 hours. I clocked in about 8, so bear with me if this presentation is going to be a little bit chaotic. I'm really sorry for that, but we're Chaos Forge, so it's kind of okay. So let me start with, I'm Kornel Kisielewicz. I'm a roguelike developer. And I know it sounds kind of like I'm saying, hi, I'm Kornel Kisielewicz, I'm an alcoholic. But basically, let's be honest, being roguelike developers is kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? You meet up with a group and each of one tells us what he destroyed today, right? So, let me start again. I'm Kornel Kisielewicz, I'm the founder and lead developer of Chaos Forge. Chaos Forge is kind of like an entity that was earlier a group of people, actually a community based around my roguelike games, the most notable being DoomRL, and we can actually go forward to it. So you all know what a roguelike is, but this slide is still here for remembering, and you probably all know what Doom is, right? So my project that I was most recognizable for was basically remaking Doom into a roguelike, which worked out pretty well, considering the fact that those two genres don't have much in common. Initially it was, oh my god, this level is so small. Initially it was actually an ASCII game, but even then it got some traction because people thought this guy is remaking Doom as an ASCII game. They didn't even say roguelike. I mean, the press covered it as a ASCII remake of Doom. So it was cool and it had that gimmick. And people picked it up. We had a couple of printed mentions in a couple of magazines. I think PC Gamer wrote about us, some kind of bigger Canadian thing, and there were some websites. Rock, Paper, Shotgun always loved DoomRL, so it kind of got traction, but it had a very special effect. So the first public release of DoomRL was done in a time when roguelike games were usually in ASCII. Doom the Roguelike was also in ASCII at that time, but later we got tiles. But more importantly, most of the roguelikes required you to read a manual or at least a full page of key bindings. So what DoomRL did different is actually reduce those keys only to those that you actually needed to shoot things. So the first public release was around 2003. I'm going to talk a little bit about Doom the Roguelike, despite the fact that the topic of this talk is Jupiter Hell, because you cannot tell the story of Jupiter Hell without telling the story of Doom the Roguelike. So bear with me for a few moments. So it had about 10 years of updates, which is kind of funny because Rock, Paper, Shotgun once wrote a very funny quote. This is a game made in 7 days which had 10 years of updates. And that's true. I mean, the last 10% took 10 years. So don't believe those guys that say like the last 10% takes 10 times as much time. It actually takes 10 years much time. Anyway, the idea was to get the essence of roguelikes, which I always enjoyed, into a form that was streamlined. So basically cut down on all that problematic looking up comments in a manual. Fast to get into, so you can just jump in, read the 4 keys that you need to start with, and you can start actually playing and having fun. Finally, dynamic, which is something that Doom the Roguelike was praised, that once you start playing it, many people play it really fast because they enjoy the fast pace of the game. And the thing that put it apart from the roguelikes in its time was the fact that it was mainly based on ranged attacks. So when all the roguelikes basically were based around the idea of melee bumping into something, Doom the Roguelike's default way to kill enemies was ranged. So we kinda at the time came up with the probably most complex ranged system, despite the fact that the whole game was quite simple. Because we had both attacks like aim and fire. We had attacks like shotguns, which actually had a spread. We had explosions, rockets going missing and going forward, stuff like that. And we had much bigger areas to walk between, because narrow corridors didn't go well with a shooting roguelike, so we made all the areas kind of bigger. So what the effect of it was that many people who didn't know anything about roguelikes started playing Doom the Roguelike because they read it on some site, look, this guy remade Doom as an ASCII game. Or afterwards, when the title was, look, the guy remade Doom as a top-down sprite-based Doom game, which is an RPG. So people started coming into that not knowing actually what roguelikes were, but the roguelike was actually even in the name. So people that enjoyed the game, because luckily the Doom brand, I'm the first one to admit, the game got popular because of the Doom brand. But people stayed. People actually came and started playing it. The game was good enough for people to stay there. Not because of the Doom name, not because of nostalgia, but basically because the game was kinda fun. So they built a little community around it. We had very active forums. Right now they died a little bit down, but I hope that with Jupiter Hell everything will go back. But my point being, those people came without knowing roguelikes, and afterwards they kind of spread around. Many people started playing Brogue, Tome, DCSS, even Angband and Adam. I know that many people actually dove into. That sounds kind of birdy. Wait a sec. Never mind. Basically, many people were brought into roguelikes through Doom. So Doom became kind of like a gateway drug for a roguelike addiction. And this is basically what we want to do with Jupiter Hell. However, on a bigger scale. We want to make a gateway drug for all those people that right now look at a... Because right now, let's agree, we have better looking roguelikes. We have... well, even the most I would say mainstream roguelike would probably, well, in roguelike I mean it's turn-based. I'll get to that. But the most mainstream turn-based roguelike would probably be right now Dungeons of Dreadmore, I think. Tome has more installs than Dungeons of Dreadmore. Okay, so Tome, for example, those look better, but still, Dungeons of Dreadmore has some kind of like a more, yeah, it has a different look. But we're still talking about, in the best case, animated sprites. And for many people, especially like the more wider audience of gamers, those animated sprites are sometimes a turn down. So there is a new, I think there's been a kind of a revolution within gaming recently, because we've got a turn-based game. I'm talking about XCOM now. We've got a turn-based game that actually started leaking into the mainstream audience. Not only XCOM, there were some smaller and less successful titles, but XCOM is an example of a turn-based game that was usually it was usually something that was for the hardcore audience, getting a lot more traction in the larger gaming audience. It actually got a successful release on a console, which, if you think about it, there are not many turn-based games on consoles. So this is like the one core audience that pops up here. And the other core audience that pops up is the gamers who actually got into the very popular thing called as board games recently. Board games by their nature, except for a couple of exceptions, are turn-based. So people are starting to dig at the idea of turn-based, and there are many gamers that dig the idea. So what about roguelikes? With roguelikes, we do have those let's say, popular within their own audience roguelikes, but not in the general gaming audience. So we've got those big roguelikes that actually got into Steam. More people are starting to play it, but their discoverability is low because of the presentation. Oh, I got lost. So basically, with Jupiter Hell, we want to access this audience and try to bring this audience. I was talking about roguelikes, about the roguelikes on Steam. So far more popular than roguelikes, let's agree to that, are roguelites. So basically this genre that appeared over roguelikes, which had some really great and amazing games. I mean, I've played shitload of hours in FTL. But still, they are not, for us people who know roguelikes longer than 10 years, for us they are not very representative of the genre that's been around for 30 years. So I'm a bigger fan of the like old school genre because I've been doing this for a long time, and I would actually want people to rediscover the turn-based, the more classical roguelike style. So to do that, we need to present something to the audience that would, at release time, be interesting let's say, for the Battlefield player who actually got into XCOM to actually try to get into this game. So here, when we were talking about the art and about how roguelikes are about the imagination, that you have those tiles, but you still start to imagine things. Well, to be honest, we don't give a shit about that. And that's a design decision. We want to actually reduce the player's imagination to what he actually gets on the screen. But I think it's okay, because I want this to be a gateway drug. I want people to come to Jupiter Hell to actually start playing afterwards Tome, start playing the nice fancy Adam version, and start playing even older roguelikes. I mean, even less approachable roguelikes like DCSS or Angband or NetHack. So this is the general idea, because this worked with Doom RL. People who wouldn't touch an ASCII game started playing ASCII games after playing with Doom RL. I think we can do that again with Jupiter Hell. So, oh, I had a slide about that. So Jupiter Hell, apart from being like a spiritual successor in terms of theme and in terms of the world design, is actually a spiritual successor in terms of what I want to achieve with this game. So let me try to... This is not exactly a great laptop, but I think that we will still get some decent performance out of it. Did I lose a window? Nah, okay. Okay, so this is basically how the game looks like. This is not a video. This is the game running live, but I pre-recorded a demo because it's easy to record just the actions and afterwards play them back. It's a lot more dark than it's on the PC, and it's already dark on the PC because we failed adding enough lights. But I hope that at least in the better lit areas you will see what's happening. So this is built on an entirely custom engine in C++, ground up. We've only used OpenGL. We've only, for the developers out here, we've only used OpenGL. We've used the Lua scripting language for data representation and AI. But all the mechanism except physics, which was bullet physics, are written from scratch. So we've built a whole lightning system, rendering system for it, and well, you can ask why we did that, and that's a pretty good question, actually. We did that because I kind of like working with procedural things, and we want to push procedural technology a little bit forward, basically with the next game trying to do even more procedural stuff with graphics, and the current engines aren't exactly stellar when it comes to handling geometry that's being generated on the fly. Still, even here we managed to do some little elements of procedural geometry. For example, many of the elements in the game, like the boxes, are kind of tilted randomly a little bit placed. So no two sets of boxes are actually the same. When you put them in a row, each of them looks a little bit different. Damn, it's really dark. So from the technical point of view, that's one of the interesting things. The other, I really wish this would be in a better quality. I'll try to zoom in a moment. So we've got a system also of quite good lighting. There's 32 in this dark level. It's barely visible, but there's 32 lights, shadow casting lights at the same time on the screen, and it still works on this laptop with 35 FPS. So I'm pretty happy about that because we will be able to bring the game to really low level. I mean, this should run on a net top with a built-in Intel card. And that was my goal also, to provide the players with. So the design decisions that are here also, okay, you look at it right now, it seems quite dynamic, but it's still a turn-based game. It's totally a turn-based game and totally grid-based. If you look closely, you obviously see the grid. The other design choice that we've made, but we may actually go back on it, is the fact that movement is only in 4 directions. The idea behind it is that we want the game to be playable from the keyboard, because from the keyboard it's much faster. And right now, finding a numeric keypad on an average laptop is kind of hard, and you won't convince the average player to actually, use 8 directions on a HKL something setup, right? So this was another conscious decision. Obviously, we will streamline everything we can. That means that we want the game to be so accessible that you actually can run it, start a new game, and it will tell you what you have to do without looking up anything in the manual. We try to keep... oh, I should have moved the mouse, come to think of it. We want to keep the graphics level, I say it, like first XCOM level. So it's the second... okay, not the first XCOM. So, because XCOM obviously was a game much older than the current XCOM, and to be honest, I'm a bigger fan of the original. But now when those 2 XCOMs came, the first one was actually lower budget. The current one is actually pretty well made, but the first one, despite having a lower budget, it still gathered quite a big audience. And I think we can kind of compete on that level if we cut away big amounts of voice acting, pre-rendered movies, in-game movies, because obviously we don't need those, and those take a lot of time. So we can still, I think, get some kind of good level of quality. What you see here is a technical alpha. The game will look better than this. We still have some things that we want to implement. The assets here are kind of very generic, but the point was to make those basic assets that are enough to start working on combat mechanics. The combat mechanics that we want to have are for the game to be easily played without thinking about combat mechanics, but actually have deeper mechanics for the players that get into it. So for example, just like in Doom RL there was a dodge system, here we will also have a dodge system, but it will be more in the face of the player, so the player will know about dodging easier because he'll get some statistics about that. And we want to have some kind of cover mechanics. However, we want the cover mechanics actually not to be based on a bug. Because some of you might know that the cover mechanics in Doom RL are actually a bug. A bug that was so brilliant that it never got fixed. Because once we fixed it, half of the strategy of the game disappeared. So it's a consciously left out bug that people exploit and call it cover mechanics. It's a feature. But the problem was we had some ideas how to fix it. However, they would require to rebalance the whole game, because it was such an integral part of high-level gameplay in Doom RL that we had to... okay, the ragdolls are very, very broken. Don't look at those. Actually, once the recording was done, we can move around. We want to use the fact that the game is so easily recordable to actually allow players to share their recordings between themselves, to actually run a ghost on the same seed. So you can be able to compare with your friend's playthrough, to be able to post replays online, because the replays are extremely small. And moreover, here's a fun idea, to have a web ladder of games to which you submit your score, and the top 100 are run on the server headlessly and checked whether they are actually legit, which would leave only safe scumming as the only possible way of cheating. And from my history with Doom RL, I noticed that the people who actually can get high scores and get high quality games, they usually don't save scum. So it's kind of a mechanism that would allow us for semi-true ladder games. And we want to kind of do that to have seed of the week things, the less important ones. But for important tournaments, the other thing about this game is that it's kind of written on the client-server architecture. So basically, I'll wait for it to appear. So basically, this is the same game. And this is like exactly the same game. You can play it a little bit, and then later load your save game into ASCII. Or you can, for example, play an ASCII game and then run a replay of it in graphics. The engine doesn't care. So additionally, because of the fact of the client-server architecture, we could totally run the game on a server. Right now it's not done, but we could totally split the server and the client so that you could actually play an online game, which is totally safe and uncheatable. Because inside I made sure that the client never receives information that the game doesn't have. And do completely fair online tournaments. But that's something to think for the future. Right now we're only considered making the game look good and actually play good. So I'll put the better looking one back up. Another thing that was very important for me was that Doom.RL had quite a lot of people speedrunning it, which is kind of interesting because I managed to beat Doom.RL once on very easy when I'm too young to die. And for me it took like 6 hours. The current record I think in speedrunning is something about 3.5 minutes. Without cheating. I mean, I've seen that done live, so I'm pretty sure that the ones that are posted on YouTube, you can Google actually Doom.RL speedrun on YouTube, and you probably will get at least one of those. So all the speedrunners actually ran, most of the speedrunners actually ran the game in ASCII mode. Why? Because turn-based games suffer, and most of the turn-based games with animation suffer from the fact that I think I haven't seen it anywhere else, except for like really brutal skipping. But basically, when you start an animation, the game requires you to wait for the animation to finish, and then only you can like chain in another command. So the main idea with this implementation was that I really wanted to have the game not have that. The game, when you press keys very fast, instead of requiring you to wait for your whole cycle, it merges and speeds up the animation. And that's why when I was running the replay, it looked like it would be real time. So I'll try to show it a little bit. So basically you can play it very slowly, right? Fire, kill something, or you can start to really mess around. And then, shit. Where's my ammo? Oh, this is not the reload button. Okay. So the easiest example that I can show you is that despite the fact that it doesn't have diagonals, it seems that it does, because when you go, for example, up and right, you get those two things, right? But when I press them really fast, he basically merges this into one animation to keep up. And if you start like holding your key press, then he starts to run a lot faster and actually keeps the pace with your key presses. So you can play it really fast despite the fact that it's a turn-based game, which removes the whole problem, for example, that Diablo 1 had, that when you were walking down backtracing a level, you were waiting for the guy to, with his slow pace to get back to the place you were. Here, that problem will not exist, because basically you cannot press keys as fast as it would be needed for the animation system not to catch up. So I think this is one of the kind of cooler and more unique features about the game. And unfortunately, it kind of killed the message. Because with this system working, the reaction to our videos of gameplay is that it's a top-down shooter. people don't seem to read, despite the fact that I tried to write turn-based everywhere, don't seem to notice that this game is actually grid-based and turn-based. So in this regard, I think we did our job a little bit too well, because right now we have a hard time selling the turn-based nature of the game. So, two other points of interest in the game. In terms of gameplay design, it will be, I'm selling it as a Dumarel spiritual successor, but the truth is it's made out of ideas that were both not realized in Dumarel, so I call those Dumarel 2 ideas, and of ideas that were in Alliance RL. Alliance RL was a less known roguelike of mine, but one that I'm more proud of actually, because it has a much more thought out design, which I never managed to get to the level of that playability that the game could give. I think yeah. So right now I'll be talking. Are you scared of the dark? So, where was I? Oh, the gameplay design. So the gameplay design is to have that tactical layer that is inspired by Doom RL, so be a fast-paced shooting turn-based game with a depth of strategic choices, so that when you encounter an enemy, it shouldn't be only the fact that how much ammo I will need to kill him. You need to have like the combat itself, the combat loop itself must be interesting. It must have some tactical decisions. Those can be made by dodge mechanics, by cover mechanics, by environments that allow you to interact with them. The easiest example being, of course, a barrel that you can blow up, or in case of Jupiter Hell, a hostile bot that you could hack into and turn onto your side, stuff like that. So we want this lower level, I call it tactical level be interesting game in itself, and at the same time there's the Alliance RL level, the strategic layer level that we want to introduce is the fact that the game. Okay, I would need to talk about the story. I wanted to talk about the story a little bit later, but basically the game is set on Jupiter. We've got moons of Jupiter, that is Callisto, first Callisto, then Europa, then maybe Io, I hope, and then Jupiter itself, which is represented by a space station that flows up of the great red eye of Jupiter, a space station that is not of human origin. So those are hubs. Actually, Europa has two hubs, because Europa has a base on the ice level, and there's a elevator down that takes you onto the subsurface ocean, because it's I think it's already confirmed that there's an ocean underneath the ice in Europa. At the moment we were designing it, it was a theory, so it's kind of fine that they actually proven it. So those two things are hubs, and Callisto itself is a hub, and within those hubs, contrary to Doom RL, you will be able to do backtracking. So the idea is to have missions within those hubs, but contrary to some roguelikes, we don't want the missions to be set. For a given playthrough, there's a set of missions within a hub is picked randomly, and obviously they have some kind of interaction between them, so not only just the set will be presenting a challenge, but also which interactions come into it. So for example, you might have to because basically the objective of every hub, the main objective, is getting to the other one. So even that could be randomized. So for example, getting from Callisto to Europa would require either a mass driver, a working spaceship somewhere, or ancient teleport that was brought back from Europa to Callisto. So one of those will happen. As a long-time player, will know which one of those objectives actually got picked only after playing a little bit with the level and seeing like characteristic elements. So, but it's possible that two of those options would be present. Then you would have to choose which one. And seasoned player will already know that picking one of the other options has some consequences. Like, for example, let's say that you can get through the civilian level, and in the civilian level you will find civilian weaponry class ammunition. But on the other hand, you will meet less enemies. If you go through the military installations, you will have a lot harder time, but you will also pick up better gear. So you will have to, once you start playing a playthrough, you pick up the hints about what's the general layout, because for sometimes in some games Callisto will not have a military installation at all. It's made up only from civilian ones. The military is blocked off. There's a mining shaft and there's mining equipment, so you can kind of like when you get to the first terminal you can get a feel of what the current layout is, and with that you strategically plan your playthrough. You see that you don't have access to those levels where you could find some elements, and you have access to other levels where you could find those. So we want to have that strategic layer that allows for a player that knows the game better to, because basically if the player knows the quests, usually it's more boring, but we want it to be the other way. Once you know the general layout, know most of the quests, you already can start doing strategic thinking in the general run that you're going through. So, I think I can talk about that and talk, but I'll just move to the other topic. If somebody wants to talk about it, I'll gladly describe in more detail. Other thing that we want to do that was present in Doom RL and was a very successful feature was actually challenge modes, special modes that actually cripple your character for achievements, right? So surprisingly, challenge modes that cripple your player are very popular because people like the added challenge and want to add that other achievement or the other medal in case of Doom RL to their collection. So we want to push that to the limits to not only introduce very interesting challenges, but also, for example, introduce varied starting conditions. And this kind of gets into the plot, which I'll get into in a moment. So for example, instead of starting like a Marine, the only Marine who hasn't been infected by the thing that turned everybody into zombies, not to spoil anything. So instead of starting as one of those Marines, you can start actually as a scientist that wasn't affected. And that basically changes the gameplay because you have no combat mechanics, but you have a lot of knowledge, lot of, let's say, scientific abilities, but that's not treated as a different class. I mean, it is treated as a different class, but not like in other games, because you also have a different starting place, different plot elements. Many are shared among those challenge classes, but some of them are not, and actually endings. To get the best ending, you need to unlock first those challenge classes and finish all of them and gather all the pieces of the puzzle together to know what actually happened. Which brings me to the last topic about the story. So that question on Twitch was actually pretty good. You have a game about killing zombies in space. How can you think of plot in that regard? And that's a very valid question. So let me tell you a story. How I actually became a fan of Doom. So I was playing Doom a lot. I really liked it, but at some point I started looking at Doom in a different way. So in Hell, in the original Doom, suddenly on the wall you see parts of a spine. And I started to wonder, why is there a spine, like on the wall? You write down an elevator that has the spine elements outside of it. And the more I started digging into it, the more I started looking at what the names of the levels are, what the designs of the levels are, I thought that there's actually a story there. Maybe somebody thought there is a story and actually written it in that way. We'll never know, because they can lie right now and tell us that there was, or they can lie and tell us that there wasn't. But the point was, when you go through the game, you don't, most 90% of the people go through the game and never notice that. Never stop to think about why the cyber demon looks like he looks like. What the Spider-Man mastermind's idea was. And I really liked that. I really liked that nobody forced me this plot and this interesting topics, but I was kind of let down by the fact that when I started digging deeper, I didn't find anything. So this is our idea with Jupiter Hell. You can go through the game, kill the bad guy at the end, and everything is fine. You can actually get your achievements, then wonder why you have to do some weird things, but they work, so you get those other achievements. You finally even maybe, but it would be hard without reading the story, get to the final ending, and that's okay. You played a game, it was a shooter, you killed zombies, killed demons, killed bigger demons, killed really weird looking demons, which you don't know why they look like, and you don't give a fuck about the story, and that's perfectly okay. However, my idea is that the more you actually start reading about it, the more it becomes Joseph Conrad, A Heart of Darkness. So, or Apocalypse Now for the moviegoers. So basically, the deeper you go into Jupiter Hell, both in a single playthrough and both between playthroughs, the more shit gets real. I mean, the more things are actually starting that they don't look as they appear. Things that you thought were true from the beginning start to actually, oh, lost the screen. Start to actually, you look at them at a different light. At some point, I really hope that some players, I won't give any spoilers, but basically when, okay, I'll give just one information which will be obvious when you start the game, is that you have like those zombies, which were former humans, right? Turned by some kind of virus, which is later explain where the virus came from, why it came from, and who made it. Then you have those demons, which look like the classic Doom demons. So basically you have those like of hellish stuff, and those the ones with elements of cybernetics stuff. It's also explained why they look like. And afterwards you get the higher demons, which more look like from Lovecraft or from A Child's Nightmare, then they look like regular fantasy demons. And it's also in the game explained why they look the way. But the point is I want to get to the player to the point without, the point is I want to get, okay, I got lost in the words, I'm really tired. So I hope that at some point, I won't tell why because I don't want to spoil it. At some point, the player, once you start looking at those, the higher cast of demons, will actually think about why the fuck am I killing them? So, for example, one of the demons is probably going to look like kind of angelic, which will be kind of a hint about the whole story. We want the story to be the moment that once the closer you get to Jupiter and Dante Station, which is the station above Jupiter, the more questions you may actually start to ask yourself. And on Dante Station, physics itself will go to hell. You will have weird levels, like a level that when you go to the one side, you actually finish from the other, so it's wrapped. So there will be like kind of weird physics things happening. Or for example, you enter a level and suddenly you're on a grassy field. Yes, it's a space station above Jupiter, but it's a grassy field. And for most players, this will be just a puzzle, actually not a required puzzle to fix, because he will be able to dodge that. But it's still, the idea is to delve deeper into madness, and I really hope to deliver on it. But the main thing is, everything about this story is completely skippable. As long as you start, it's only getting weird when you start digging into it. So there's a lot to be made, and I think Doom would actually work that way too. If they did it very not in your face, very delicately, if they would give more and more hints underneath about the structure of hell, about why that hell looks like that, about why those demons look like that, why are you riding down a spine of something, I think it would be much better from a different point of view. So story-wise, last thing that I wanted to say is the fact that we managed to actually in spirit of getting the game to a wider audience and making them interested, we managed to get Mass Effect's Commander Shepard, Mark Meir, as the voice actor for the Marine. So this will be also kind of like a highlight, especially for the press, I hope. and for players who actually know Mass Effect, because it's fun to hear the guy who's this good guy in Mass Effect, like swearing heavily as the Marine in Jupiter Hell. Huh? The what? Ah. So I'm unfortunately I cannot confirm that we could get Jennifer Hale to do the female voice, because there will be a choice of female male, but it would be pretty cool actually, and yes, we are thinking about that. But back to the topic. Okay, I think this will be because I could talk more about the features, but I think I'll close it at that because it's getting late. And now the closing words. So the closing words, as I mentioned, I want this game to be a gateway drug to the world of roguelikes. I want people to actually, because despite what I told, despite those many features, like compared to the more complex roguelikes like Tome, for example, this is a pretty simple game. I mean, there's that idea that we want very much breadth in the randomness, but the idea is to have a fast-paced game, not one that you play one playthrough for a longer time. So I want this game to be actually a gateway drug for the world of roguelikes. For most people to actually start thinking that they can go past the graphics and see what is beyond this graphically intensive game. And however, it's no lie that we have a problem in convincing people to Jupiter Hell that don't know Doom RL. Because we failed on a few things with the video, and I'm the first to admit it. We could have shown it better, but we had really limited time to prepare the video. So right now it's basically in your hands to help us out, to actually spread the information about Jupiter Hell, because we don't have a publisher. Then that's a really interesting thing. I mean, we already were contacted by some publishers, but basically I know how that will end. Okay, this game is really good. The graphics are looking really good. I like your game. Yeah, so basically we can go forward with it. I'll give you the rest of your money, but we wanted a small change. Basically, add save and load, because this permadeath system is really creepy, and I think most players won't like it. Yeah, real time. That's a great idea. Who said that? So obviously we don't want to go that road. So the only way this game is going to be created is actually if we get funding through Kickstarter. So this is my big, sincere request of you to pledge, obviously, but that's not the most important thing. Although it's really cool to every pledge is really important, especially right now in the middle part. But the most important thing is to spread the word. To spread the word among people that know Doom RL, about people that like turn-based games, around people that like turn-based games, to spread the word to your friends that know that they play Doom RL and they enjoy it, and to spread the word that this is also a question about, getting a good-looking roguelike out there so it can help spread the roguelike genre. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kornel.
Yeah, somebody post the Kickstarter link on Twitch, please.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was
good
already
job.
posted long
Okay.
ago. Don't worry. Well, we'll start with a question on Twitch, actually. I was always wondering how they got in touch with Mark Meer. Has he played any other roguelike, maybe Doom RL?
So with Mark Meer, I don't know how much I can say, but basically somebody helped. You probably noticed that there's already some kind of work done with Jupiter Hell that probably would be hard to do in the weekends. For the past 1.5 years, we've been working in an office, and the money was actually gave by an investor who gave us complete free reign over it. And this is still an investment, but his friend is actually Mark Meer. So that's how we got Mark Meer he asked him, and Mark Meer agreed to do it for a special
Yeah, that helps. I had a few questions myself. First, I want to say I fully agree with you about the animation things. I'm actually doing the same thing in terms of Juicy. There's no animated characters, but the movements are twitched. And I'm doing the same thing. And I always wonder why nobody else was doing that. So thank you.
It's hard. It's hard to implement properly. I think that's why they are not doing it.
Yeah, but you know, with just sprite games, it gets easier.
It's
so
easier. That's
So
true.
just do it, please.
But
people.
still, for example, even in Doom RL, we don't have that, despite the fact that I had problems with the timing system and how it worked with explosions, with special effects. So I had a mode in which there was cancellation of animation, but due to the way explosions worked, this was really, really confusing to players, so I had to get back to that turn-based thing. But right now we're designing it with this system in mind, so we can make sure that no game mechanics will look weird with this animation cancelling system.
Okay. On that note, I think we agree on many design decisions. So obviously we are right and everybody else is wrong. And now for a more serious question.
If the Dark God agrees with me, I'm really happy.
And for a more serious question, obviously you made the 3D engine for that. Will there be like a third-person view or first-person view mode, just for fun? It's already in. Okay.
Well, the problem is that this game is basically unplayable in first person.
Oh yeah.
Because
I fully
the
agree,
problem
but,
is that
you
by
don't see
design
behind
you
you.
have a 360.
You can put like a mirror in your front view, just like a car.
Okay, this first. Okay, because this is a version that is.
Yeah.
This is a version that is unfortunately older. We fixed the lights, and in this version they are not fixed. So basically everything above the ground level is not looking good. But I actually streamed the version that has fixed lights and a better camera. But basically first-person mode is totally doable.
That's cool.
But
even if
but
just
the
for
one
the wow effect.
yeah, but the one on Twitch looks way better, unfortunately. But we will have that for maybe, for example, to have the camera in the top right corner with a effect of a CRT screen,
that
shimmering.
would be nice, yeah.
That's over the shoulder camera for the player. You can turn the lights on.
And just a last thing, you were mentioning being able to replay like the top 100 games on your server to validate them. But if you're just basing that on a score, aren't you afraid that...
No, you're submitting score and a replay.
Yeah, but
so you can validate the score by running the replay.
Oh, right, so you can just invalidate, even if the 100 top ones are all cheats.
Then I throw them out.
Yeah, you can take the... Okay, that's all for me. I'll just check on Twitter if...
It's just so sad that the first-person mode in this version is broken.
People on Twitch are very timid today.
Someone else?
Hi, I'm Isidore, also roguelike player like you, and I would like to have
Another
two
anonymous.
questions. What about ASCII mode? Do you plan to release ASCII mode also?
Well, the ASCII mode is available at all times.
So you will have a parallelly both modes?
Come again. Just, ask the question again, because
So the game in an ASCII mode, it will be available also for the playing?
Absolutely.
No, that's cool.
So I told you, you can choose which way to play. This ASCII mode is actually true ASCII. That means it's able to be streamed through a SSH terminal. It runs in anything. You can resize the screen and it fills up the screen because it's a true ASCII terminal. However, we will probably also offer some kind of like a Brogue-like or TCOD-like nicer version of ASCII with different colors and with coloring. Not to the extent that, for example, Cogmind or Brogue does it, but still a little bit nicer looking.
And the second one, it's about Lovecraft, you mentioned it. Does it have any common points with Lovecraft?
You
the
might,
Jupiter Hell,
you
or-
might find common points in the story with Lovecraft.
Yeah, because I'm a big fan of the Lovecraft. So.
So am I. Well, you won't see Cthulhu for that's for sure. But
Cool. So I was wondering about the sort of game length and difficulty scaling. I mean,
oh yeah, I forgot. I
yeah.
forgot to tell that there will be difficulty levels the same as in Doom RL, and the difficulty levels will not only differ by you know, that there's twice more health and like that, but some game mechanics will be cut out from the easiest difficulties, and some randomness will be cut out from the hardest difficulties, because I have noticed that people that run Nightmare and Doom RL, they don't like the game to be too random. They want to have some kind of bigger control of the game, while the players that start the game, they want it to be more random, because more randomness is more fun. Okay, but sorry for the
that's interesting. And in terms, I guess there's two aspects. One, I'm interested in how long you expect to play through to be, given this is a commercial game with permadeath. And secondly, one thing I like in Doom RL is a sort of optional difficulty I can turn on as I go down, because obviously there are the red staircases down to the branches, which sort of allow me to dynamically scale the difficulty depending on how hard I think my character is and you know, what kind of ending I'm going for. So are you going to bring those kind of mechanics into Jupiter Hell as well?
So in the latter case with those stairs, I mean, we actually, with the fact that it's hub-based, you will be able to skip totally big parts of the game by not going there, but not gaining the things that you could gain there. So I think it's even more dynamic in that case, because you'll totally be in control of how your playthrough will pan out without being forced into going just the downward direction, right? And the first question was
just in terms of the game length. In terms,
oh yeah, the game length. We wanted it to be a little bit longer than Doom, but it's still, I think, on a average pace, it should be finishable within game evening, because Doom RL was like 4 to 6 hours for a playthrough if you won. This one would be like 6 to 8 hours, I think. But obviously, like the same way as in Doom RL, the better you are, the faster you actually play. So I think that an average length would probably be around 4 hours for a playthrough. Also, there's an unasked question here that I want to answer. We want to have game modes apart from those challenge modes. So for example, one game mode would be kind of like a Doom RL in Jupiter Hell. So basically you just go down levels, you have a fixed amount and fixed bosses, and you want to, you know, get scores and achievements in that mode. So it's like a classic mode instead of the story mode, and obviously in this mode there will be no story. So we have a couple of more ideas for game modes. Basically, we want to give the player as much gameplay time as possible with new things to discover as within the set of assets that we have. We think that a game should have at least 100 or 200 hours of interesting content in it, instead of being a game that you finish in 2 hours and be done with it. I mean, that's my type of games that I enjoy and my school of game design that I want to follow.
Okay, well, I can't wait to play it. So would you consider putting some of those amazing extra features in DLC so we can get the game earlier? Just to be controversial.
Well, it's like I've written on the Kickstarter page, we've got several planned out stages in terms of testing, with more and more people coming in. When we get to actually this late 2017 early access, we put it out on Steam on early access, and even then the game is not finished. So probably like features like extra modes, the features that actually get you wider instead of trying to finish the core gameplay, they will be left for early access. And the first of such stages is the Inner Circle stage, which will include most of the really good Doom RL players that we've had on the forum, and the people that pledge on the respective level and on Kickstarter will be focused on creating something like a Quake-free arena experience. So basically you have 8 player AIs, and the player can be one of them. They all play on the same rules. There are random pickups thrown in, and we just want to make sure that the combat loop, the combat experience for the player is fun enough to actually play the game only as a strict combat game. So we will be testing this arena thing until it's fun. One side note here for many people might be interested, especially because there are a lot of developers here. We plan to have the ability to supply the scripts, the AI scripts for the arena combat externally. So and each bot could have a separate AI script, and you could run it in full bot mode. So basically, what we could do is run tournaments of who writes the best AI for the combat arena. And I think that some people might really enjoy that. I mean, there are a lot of groups of people around certain games that write AI, and I think that this game is actually quite fun to watch in AI mode. Dumarel had a combat arena fully AI mode, but unfortunately it broke around version. It was never publicly announced, and it broke around version 8.3, and I never had the time to actually bring it back.
Okay, cheers, Kornel.
Maybe I didn't read the Kickstarter page correctly, but you mentioned there the inner core forums, the alpha, beta, and the normal forums. Are they supposed to be until the first release of the game, so that the inner core obviously...
Okay, once you have the inner circle, once we finish inner circle testing, all the people that had access to inner circle have access to alpha, beta, and others. We close down the inner circle, we begin the alpha process,
you
right?
merge the levels.
Yeah, we merge the levels.
And that is not for...
What? Well, basically, what is asked being here, if inner circle players will be able to alpha test the game. Yes, they will.
Now yes, that's...
Oh yeah, probably so.
And
probably so, because we want some features. We will probably test some features still in the inner circles, because we don't want, potentially broken builds to be wider available.
Yeah,
so it's still going to be a tiered system of testing.
Also in the future, after the first release of...
Also in early access. Yeah. In early access, we will only push updates after they are being tested by the beta, alpha, and inner circle probably will get basically some kind of nightly builds even.
Oh, okay.
Kornel, I understand we have a message from Mark Meer to share out. I wonder if we could privately share it with this small group of friends. I'm told by Slizky it is, and you have the link.
Oh, I do. But will it load?
Yeah.
Okay, I can try to do that.
I think we can share this with our friends here.
Yeah, I think we could.
Maybe the lights on. A little special.
Nah. Wait a second in this case. Oh, but this won't work because we don't have audio connected. Huh? Yeah, but it will sound really crappy. But we can send the link on the. Yeah, it will be a really cool thing, but you didn't tell me it before.
I only asked it now.
Okay. So turn the lights on. I'm sorry, guys, but we didn't plan that. But this will go live tomorrow. Yeah, probably so. And questions.
I'm official backer, so I hope you guys.
Thank you very much.
And I hope everybody in the room will become in some degree. I would just want to ask two questions: the development time so far, and how big is the team, and who is doing what in the team?
Okay, so I'll answer both questions at the same time. For the past 5 years, it's been basically, the development started 5 years ago on the custom engine. I was doing it apart from doing regular stuff. So I was still earning money and doing nightly first steps in the engine. About 2.5 years ago, I decided to stop working and basically focus on this project. So it's 2.5 years full coding. I'm the only coder, so all the code was written by me, and all the art that you see was made by Ślizgi, by our art director and sole artist at this moment. We've expanded the team with a concept artist, with Eva, and we obviously got Darren, without whom you probably wouldn't read a word about the about the Jupiter Hell, because my writing skills in English are really horrible. What Darren immediately pointed out, and I'm really happy that he did. So Darren not only does the writing for us in terms of PR, obviously, but he's going to hopefully do the writing for the game itself, and keep an eye on our design as a co-designer, because we share the very similar ideas in terms of what is good design in the game and what is not. We have a musician and an audio guy, Roland Lagoy, whose music you could hear in the teasers. And obviously we've got people helping out. We've got a web administrator. We've got people from the forums helping us with like daily stuff. But right now the core team, you could say, is those people that I've mentioned. So I'm the right now only programmer. Ślizgi is the only person doing actual art for the game, because Eva is a concept artist. We probably will need another 3D artist if the Kickstarter works out, because there's a lot of models to do. We want to have a lot of variety in the art department, and obviously this is kind of a biggish project compared to, for example, anybody here saw or played Space Hulk? So I think there was like 60 people working on it. Yeah, and compared to our small team, that's kind of scary, because, well, we want basically on the same level, right? So I don't know how big the XCOM team was, but I'm pretty sure it was also quite big. So this answered both of your questions? Yes.
And the question I'm asking just about every other developer ever, add-on support?
Huh?
Add-on support?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, basically what we want is to be able to, because I wanted to do that with Doom RL, to get it to that level, but we didn't get there. We were really close. There was a Wolfenstein 3D version of Doom RL, but it's still kind of in alpha. We might release it at some point, though. But my idea is for the game to be as moddable as possible, up to the level that you could do a fantasy hack and slash without Jupiter Hell written on it. And as long as you've bought the game and downloaded the mod, you have a total conversion.
See, people, that's how you support add-ons. You just do it. In Lua, obviously.
In Lua.
See, we always agree.
Because nothing that's related to the game is being coded in C++. Everything that's related, it's only the graphical engine and the entity systems, all the things that run in real time, so animation systems, etc., they are in C++. But everything that is related to the gameplay mechanics and stuff like that will be coded in Lua and will be able to be transformed in a total conversion. Yeah, we use entity component system. That data-driven entity component system. So, okay.
I want to ask about the custom engine. Will there be a way for developers to buy it from you, or?
I'm pretty sure that we will never sell it, but we might actually give access to it. I'm not promising anything, but my games have a tendency to go open source, and I'm not promising here anything also, but at some point, yeah.
I think that's it. So thank you,
So
everyone.
thank you very much.